Hey guys, Nuzzly here, back with another Equalized Stats video. If you don't know the concept here, basically I'll be looking into two characters determining who would win in a fight between them, like usual. However, the strength, speed and durability are all made equal. Basically meaning that the fight comes down to abilities, intellect, fighting styles, etc, etc. Today in particular I'll be looking at two of the most iconic time stoppers in anime, at least in recent memory. That being DIO from Jojo's Bizarre Adventure versus Hit from Dragon Ball Super. This matchup is pretty one-sided, but would the outcome change if they were on equal footing? That is what I intend to answer today. If you're going to enjoy this video, then make sure to like, subscribe, and let's just get on with it. Let's start with DIO Brando. For disclosure, I will composite both parts 1 and 3 DIO, as while there are debates as to if he can use his abilities in part 3 that he had in part 1, I'll composite it just to give him the best chance in this fight. To start off, DIO has a lot of experience, and has pretty gifted levels of intellect. This is through DIO being over 122 years old as of part 3, and having a lot of time to think due to being trapped within the coffin. Even when he was a human, DIO was very street smart and provided very underhanded tactics in order to win. Hell, he was even a top student in a law school, further proving his levels of intellect. DIO is also a skilled fighter, being able to outbox Jonathan and also fight Ripple users such as Jonathan and Zeppeli, who are also stated skilled in martial arts, which also helps with DIO's acrobatic skill. As for abilities, he has enhanced senses, he can fly, he has absorption, he has self-sustenance, as he can survive years and years without oxygen or food. He has regeneration, body control, minor elasticity, as he's able to extend his veins. He can bring people back from the dead and manipulate them, along with biological manipulation. DIO can manipulate minds with the flesh buds he can implant onto people, but even within part 1 he doesn't even need them, as he can outright control the mind of Jack Ripper, which also then feeds into his telepathy abilities as well. DIO also has insane charisma and aura, which can place people into a state of fear just by being around them. The two biggest abilities of DIO in part 1 is firstly his Space Ripper Stingy Eyes ability, which basically gives DIO laser eyes to attack people with. They aren't literally lasers, as they're explicitly stated to be big pressurized fluids. You can still argue that they fly at light speed, although I'm sure as hell not getting into light speed part 1 debates, as I don't have to now. Thank God. The other ability that DIO has in part 1 is the ability to drain heat from other people on contact and being able to outright freeze them, which is a pretty big win condition for DIO, although I'll get into later if that would affect the fight or not with Hit. DIO also has two stands you can summon to him, the lesser known one being Hermit Purple, number 2. This stand has elasticity and can also take pictures of people that he's looking for if he has a camera, and of course the iconic stand that he uses in fights is the World. The World as a stand is impervious and invisible to damage from non-stand users. Stands are also able to turn intangible at will, and has incorporeality along with the ability to create after images. Stands can also be manipulated by the user's will to become smaller, and while it does reduce their power output, it can allow DIO to send the World into someone's ear, for example. Of course, the biggest ability that DIO has is the ability to stop time, and can move within stop time for a limited amount of time. DIO can stop time for up to 5 seconds, and every time he uses it, the length of time that he can stop it for increases. Well, it does sound like a pretty big drawback, and well, I guess it is, considering it's just a short span of time. His insane speed allows him to do a lot within that time. Also, his time stop can be used in tandem with his seemingly infinite amount of knives, which can use to surround someone in a way that they can't react fast enough for DIO to get a quick victory. DIO also has a pretty insane pain tolerance, being able to take attacks which probably shatter his skull, splits him in two, and he can even outright survive as just a head. The only real weaknesses that DIO has in part 3 is that he needs blood in order to regenerate, and at least for bigger hits, and his head is more vulnerable from the rest of his body. Hit, meanwhile, also has a fair amount of stuff to go over. Firstly, he is pretty smart when it comes to combat, having completed possibly hundreds of missions and never having failed one. However, you could just say he did this via pure power. He's been stated to be over 1,000 years old, so he's bare minimum got a lot of experience, and has shown being able to adapt to situations where multiple people jump him. He's even able to analyse his opponent in such a way that he can predict and adapt to their attacks. Hit has also fought Son Goku in equal footing, the same Super Son Goku is trained in martial arts his entire life, and is also one shot of the world's greatest martial artists. Goku's martial arts skills are also so great that he's able to outright keep up with people stronger than him while he's fatigued through pure martial arts skills alone. Hit also has many abilities. For starters, he has Ki manipulation. Ki allows him to fire off energy blasts, which can attack from long range, enhances physical capabilities, has telekinetic abilities, can form defensive barriers, create homing attacks, and sense where people are. He's a master of stealth. He can fly, he has after image creation and shockwave generation. He of course has time manipulation, being able to store, skip, and stop time, along with the ability to suspend beings within time as well. His strikes are even able to outright aim for the vital points of a person's body, which can stun them, knock them out, or even kill them outright. This further adds to his insane abilities. Hit's Ki blasts can phase through people and crush their enemies' insides. Hit can also rapidly improve his power and length of his time skip. He can create dimensional rifts, which can destroy space-time pocket dimensions with his energy. He can create his own pocket dimension, and within that pocket dimension he can make himself invisible and intangible, and the ability to create illusions which can mislead their opponents and make his attacks look like they're going somewhere else when they aren't. He also has resistances to extreme colds and cosmic radiations. The only sort of weaknesses that Hit has is that his movements and his time skip can be predicted, and that his pocket dimension can be destroyed with enough power. His Cage of Time also requires a lot of effort for him to put his enemy and keep them trapped there. So what does this all mean? Firstly, you can argue that DIO has more pound for pound intelligence levels, but in terms of experience and combat ability, Hit takes in that regard. While DIO is over 100 years old, Hit is over 1,000 years old, and DIO spent most of his years under the ocean. Hit is more skilled in hand-to-hand combat due to fighting more skilled fighters than DIO. DIO, however, has better weapons due to having a seemingly infinite amount of knives, and Hit doesn't really have anything. While knives wouldn't normally do anything to Hit, with an equalized stats context, they are very much deadly. But of course, the big and main part of this debate is how do their abilities stack up. Hit outright has more abilities than DIO, so he should be more versatile, and while DIO has a lot of knives, Hit can create many homing attacks as he wants with his Ki blasts. Hit also has more time-based abilities than DIO, being able to stop, skip, store, and also enclose people within a cage of time, compared to DIO, who could just stop it. And while DIO would be able to move in Hit's time stop for short periods of time, would Hit be able to, move in DIO's time stop? It's also notable that Hit would obviously move longer in his own time stop. It's a bit hard to say if Hit could move within DIO's time stop. If Hit already has his time abilities active, I'd be inclined to say yes, but otherwise I'm not really too sure. Something that's pretty big, however, is that Hit wouldn't be able to see or hurt the world, which is a pretty massive advantage in DIO's favour. Even if Hit turns intangible or invisible in the time cage, DIO has been showing able to hurt stands with his sheer strength, added on top of the fact that his regeneration and equalized stats battle is pretty huge, and stand users can also see ghosts as well. Considering the fact that Hit also doesn't really have any regeneration, it's a massive thing for DIO. However, Hit's major abilities also gives him a massive advantage too. His illusion creation could definitely throw DIO off, and can also outright bypass DIO's durability and hurt his insides, which undoubtedly gives him an even bigger edge in the hand-to-hand combat sense. And especially when you're considering he's striking his vital points, and DIO certainly has a very vital point. Who is more likely to win then? It's a bit difficult to say. Hit certainly has more advantages than DIO, and to be honest, I am leaning more towards him winning. DIO could definitely win if you imply that Hit wouldn't be able to move in DIO's time stop. DIO could just stop time and immediately go to town on Hit, or just phase through his body, crush his organs. You could also argue that DIO could freeze Hit, and while I think that is a way he could win, Hit's resistances to extreme cold temperatures I think would at least give them enough time to react and get out of there, or at least fire an energy blast at DIO. However, I wouldn't be so quick to say as that's how the fight would go down character-wise. Dio is an arrogant bastard and is completely full of himself. In fact, Hit is more likely to use his time abilities first, as he always wants to get the job done as fast as possible. While yeah, the world can be an annoyance to get around, his illusionary powers added on to the fact that he can specifically target and negate the durability of Dio's weakest point would basically allow him to get the win in my eyes. Dio's regeneration would come in handy, but only if he's able to get blood. If you remember in the Jojo fight when Dio got cracked in the head by Star Platinum's punch, it was able to sink through his entire skull and deal so much damage that Dio needed like a few seconds to recover from the attack, and even then all he could really do was crawl around. Now imagine that, but the skull isn't in the way, and I think you can see where I'm going with this. Well yeah, Dio's time stop will get longer and longer, so hit time skip. And overall, even if Hit couldn't one-shot Dio, it wouldn't take him that long to land a couple of very damaging blows to Dio's brain, so I think he would win the fight. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.